Okay, great, Mark. Thanks for having me here today. Thanks for the work that the council does. So I was here last April. We talked about the time our goals for our blueprint, which is to design a tax code not merely to wring money from you, which is the one we have today, but a tax code literally built for growth, designed to grow jobs, wages in the U.S. economy. And in doing that, leapfrog America back into the lead pack as one of the best places on earth for that new business investment and that new job. Since then, obviously, a lot has happened in a positive way. You know, we now have all the elements that's helped drive successful tax reform under President Reagan have recreated themselves. A public that is sick of the current tax code. They're tired of the complexity. It's unfair. It's costly. It's lots of special tax breaks for some and nothing but headaches for them. They're ready. We have great ideas. Just as back then we had the Jack Kemps and Bill Bradleys and others. Today we have fair tax, flat tax, ABC tax by Devin Nunes, on and on. In fact, our blueprint that we released in June incorporates the ideas of more than 50 lawmakers in the House and 23 senators as well. And so my point is, not only do we have great ideas, but the House and Senate share common goals and then oftentimes share common solutions on tax reform. And now we have a president willing to lead. And so in the area of capital formation, clearly capitalism requires capital. We put a great deal of thought into expanding capital through tax reform because it is, like business investment, one of the missing ingredients in the current economy and the current recovery. And I'm not talking just about financial resources and growth, but human capital as well. And so we put a great deal of priority into making the types of investments that help people become productive, help them grow their wages, and grow the U.S. economy as they do that. And our big three reforms I've mentioned before is we go all in for growth with lowest tax rates on our job creators in modern history. And we redesign the tax code so our companies can compete and win anywhere in the world, especially here at home. We go all in for fairness and simplicity for families with a code so simple 9 out of 10 Americans will be able to file using a postcard style system. And then finally, because we propose such a simpler, fair tax code, we're proposing a fair and simpler tax collector. So we propose to bust up the IRS and redesign it into a 21st century agency focused one singular mission, taxpayer service. Those are the big reforms. Let me talk a little on the capital side of the issues. So we propose the lowest corporate rates ever in U.S. history and the lowest pass-through rates since the 1930s. This is a pretty simple principle here. Thank you. Simple principle here. Washington needs to take less of your earnings so that you can invest more in jobs, in your business, in your future. We propose for the first time full and unlimited expensing of your business investment, regardless of what size of business you are. This is really focused on Main Street job creation. There is nothing that drives Main Street jobs more clearly or more successfully than business investment in buildings, equipment, software, and technology. Go back 50 years, look at every element that drives Main Street jobs, and if you can look at consumer spending, government spending, a whole host of issues. There's one that's married to it over the last half century. It's business investment. And that part isn't just about buying new equipment. It's really about making investments in the technologies that make your workers more productive. It's why I get excited about that aspect of the tax code as well. We don't stop there. We know our businesses are not just competing on Main Street, they're competing around the world. So we propose to redesign our international system knowing what our competitors are doing. Every successful business knows where their competitors are. So do we. We know China, Europe, Canada, Mexico have beat us on lower rates. We propose to meet and match them. They no longer tax worldwide as we do. We propose to end worldwide taxation, to focus on the United States, and we propose that when American companies compete and win around the world, the tax rate to bring those earnings back, to reinvest in the U.S. in new research, new jobs, new growth, be 0% going forward. We think that's critical. And finally, we also recognize that our competitors border adjust their taxes. So they take their major tax, the VAT, off their products heading into the United States. They slap that tax on American products going into their country. 160 countries do this. We're one of the few who don't, along with the enlightened economies of North Korea, Cuba, and a few others. So as a result, American-made products are at tax disadvantage here in America, tax disadvantage overseas. Worse, this creates real tax incentives for U.S. Companies to move their jobs, their research, and their headquarters overseas. So we propose, for the first time in history, to eliminate much of the international tax code and go to a simple cash flow tax based on consumption in the U.S. So we have a simple test. Is your product or service consumed in the U.S.? If so, it is taxed at an equal low rate, business rate of 20%. So going forward, it doesn't matter where you try to book your profits. Doesn't matter where you try to position your intellectual property. Transfer pricing is no longer an issue. All these anti-base erosion measures are no longer needed. Companies will not be locating overseas in order to sell back in the United States. And it allows us to dramatically simplify the code by asking a simple question. Is your product or service consumed in the U.S.? If so, it's taxed at that equal low business rate of 20%. And maybe besides obviously leveling the playing field between foreign products and U.S. products here in the United States, lifting that export tax off our Made in America products so they can compete on a level playing field. Perhaps the most important part of border adjustability is that we eliminate any tax reasons to move your jobs, your research, or your capital overseas. In fact, just the opposite. We as opposed to today, which in effect tells most businesses the best place to market the U.S. is by being outside the U.S. Border adjustability, along with the lower rates and a territorial system, now eliminates all tax reasons to move overseas and reestablishes us as a 21st century magnet for economic growth, exactly where we want to go, especially since tax reform, Mark, only occurs once a generation. So we have to do it right. Final point, I'm not going to go through all the postcard style system, but I can tell you we go very simple and we go bold in the sense that we propose to flatten out the brackets from 7 to 3, to lower the rates at every tax level so you can keep more of what you earn. We protect more of the first dollars that families earn by increasing significantly the standard deduction. Really important for young families starting out, seniors as well. And then we go beyond that. For the dollars that you earn on savings and investment, we cut your rates in half again. That's because A, we're not a nation of savers and we need to be, and we want to reward that. Secondly, that savings investment turns out to be incredibly pro-growth in your local community. So that's why we're going very bold on the postcard as well. So Mark, those are the general details of where we're going and why, and be glad to open it up and for some easy questions.
Well, what we have, Mr. Chairman, we've got two tables here for the press. One is the real press and one is the fake press, just so you know. I'm not sure which is which, but they're up there. And then we have an audience, as you can imagine, of various diverse sectors of the economy. I've got some questions to ask, but more importantly is our guests. So who would like to ask the first questions? Just identify yourself. I'm sure there must be some. Nobody's got a question? If you don't have a question, I'll ask you to explain border tax adjustments. Well, in the interim, I guess what comes to my mind, Mr. Chairman, is the first question is the timetable. Would you like to comment on the timetable?
Sure. Well, the answer, tax reform will occur in 2017. It's critical we move forward now. Every week and month we wait, America is falling further behind our competitors. We know what happens if we don't act now and seize this opportunity. We'll continue with an economy that is stuck in second gear, and most estimations are sub 2% for the next decade. That is historically sluggish. That means a lot of young people coming out of college are not going to find that first full-time, good-paying job. It means a lot of families are not going to have the wages that they deserve. And it means, frankly, a lot less opportunities up and down the income levels. And so we have to seize this opportunity in a major way. You know, I think it's exciting that President Trump has said in the next several weeks he'll be announcing sort of his tax proposal going forward. I know we're working very constructively and continuously with the White House. In fact, I think we began the day after the election on this measure. So I'm very excited about just the momentum going forward, the excitement back home. I think small businesses, frankly, are optimistic about the future for the first time in a long time because they see Congress acting on the red tape that's burdening them, Obamacare that's really driving up their costs, and they're very excited about tax reform and the ability to actually keep more of what they earn and reinvest it into their business again. That's, I think, the big reasons for the optimism.
Now, I think, given the timetable, I think you've generated some questions. Sir, what's your name and who are you with?
Sure. Joe Lawler, Washington Examiner.
Yeah, hey, Joe.
So we have a new Treasury Secretary as of today. Can you talk about your relationship with him and also what you need from the Treasury and from the White House in the push for tax reform?
Yes, so just getting to know Secretary Mnuchin, I'm excited about his confirmation. It really begins to round out the Trump economic team in a major way. Treasury is going to play a key role, as they did under the Reagan successful tax reforms as well. So as they fill out, as Secretary fills out his tax team there, this will be a daily, coordinated, intensive effort to move tax reform in 2017. So I'm anxious. I'm thrilled that he's on the ground now as Secretary, can put that full team together and engage, you know, on this daily basis.
Next question.
I'll go for
You are, sir?
Kevin Diaz, Houston Chronicle. I know
Yeah.
Chairman
Hey, Kevin. How are you doing?
Can you talk about, I mean, since the healthcare system is what, 1/6 of the U.S. economy, there's got to be some overlap between the Obamacare replacement and tax reform. Can you talk a little bit about what that overlap is and what concerns you about it?
Yeah, so the question was the overlap between health care and tax reform. And so let me talk about the Ways and Means role here on not just repealing Obamacare, but starting to restore state control of health care and giving people, restoring the free market and giving people the freedom to choose a plan that is right for them. And so the Ways and Means Committee will be responsible for repealing the damaging taxes in Obamacare, ending the penalties that go with forcing Americans to buy government-approved health care and forcing businesses to offer government-approved health care, and then ending the subsidies as well. That's our role in repeal. On replacement, you know, we're critical to restoring personalized health care and restoring the free market in insurance, so customers, patients can buy plans that are right for them, not Washington. And so you're going to see our focus is on expanding the health savings accounts. In fact, let's step back 1 second. So the way I explain back home in all my town hall meetings, I do more than 50 a year, the way I explain the Republican approach is this. We're proposing to replace, for those who don't get health care at work and those who don't get it through Medicare, Medicaid, the VA, or one of the government programs, we propose replacing that huge bureaucracy of Obamacare, 159 federal agencies, commissions, and bureaucracies at some point in between you and your doctor. We propose to replace it with the concept of a healthcare backpack, a backpack that travels with you through your life from job to job, state to state, home, to start a business or a family, and even into your retirement years. And in that backpack are the tools Americans need in the 21st century. A way to finance a plan of their choice that's tailored to them and can change throughout their lifetime. Full control and access of a health savings account to help pay for the out-of-pocket costs that go with health care these days. And then control of your electronic medical records, so you can choose to give it to that new doctor who's seeing your child for the first time, or maybe in that ER, in that unexpected emergency in some other state. And so the Ways and Means role here is to expand and make more user-friendly the health savings accounts for people. That's so critical. In financing an individual tax credit, so you can use outside of work to buy a plan that's right for you. And so we are having discussions now with our Republican House members and our Senate Republicans on those areas. Energy and Commerce is also working on returning state control in Medicaid and the state high-risk pools. And so we've got a lot of work to do, but I'm pretty optimistic about where we can go this spring on repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Let's go to somebody. Mr. Secretary. The Secretary of HUD.
Thank you so much for all your help as we fought to recover in East Texas from Rita. You played a key role for our community's travel there with me as well, and we're just so helpful. Mr. Secretary, thanks for all your help.
Thank you very much. What I wanted to know is, where are we now with Dodd-Frank repeal?
So on the Dodd-Frank repeal, last time I checked, we were going forward, I think, with a combination of a Congressional Review Act, work by the administration, Trump administration, and then legislation by Jeb Hensarling to repeal Dodd-Frank. Last time I looked, those were sort of the three approaches that we're taking, all sort of parallel tracks in a sense. So clearly that's a legislation that I think, you know, sort of encapsulated, institutionalized too big to fail. It punished our local community banks in a major way, made it harder for average people and small businesses just to get the loans and credit they needed. Made it really tough for local bankers in my community just to be able to look at that person, their credit, their character, you know, their unique situation. Makes it very hard today to serve customers. So I'm really anxious for that to be repealed.
We've got time for two more questions. Somebody back there, or anybody, media? If not, I'll ask the questions. Oh, look at the real media here. Our good friend at the Hill.
Can you, Orrin Hatch has said that the Senate has to, Orrin Hatch has said that the Senate will probably produce its own bill, and I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about how the process might work in terms of the House and Senate being on different paths.
Yeah, so questions about the Senate producing its own tax reform plan. I think that's incredibly important. The Senate has awfully good ideas on tax reform. We incorporate a good many of them in our blueprint. They deserve the opportunity to put their ideas and plans together. I know Chairman Hatch is absolutely committed to tax reform this year in 2017. We're having ongoing discussions, obviously, with he and his members on the Finance Committee as well as the tax staff as well. So my sense is that he continues to be pointed toward tax reform in 2017, and the Senate Republicans are working very hard to pull their elements together. I think we have shared goals in simplicity, in growth, in fairness, in competitiveness. We share a lot of the same solutions, so I too am confident that we can find common plans together.
Mr. Chairman, I know you've got to run off. If I could just share one final thought with you. I've been around a while, all the way back to 1913 when we lost the battle and went with an income tax to a consumption tax. But a lot of people are nervous about it, and look at Europe. I found out through Senator Cardin that actually Alexander Hamilton spoke out on taxes. And in Federalist 21, he came out for a consumption tax. So your proposal is as American as can be. And the only thing I ask all these people here, let's move forward with tax reform. There are a lot of controversial issues, but let's just move forward, and I'm sure we'll get a good result.
Mark, I think we will as well. And I think, we go very bold because our competitors insist we do. We have one chance in 30 years to go back to the lead and stay there for a long time. So we're not going to shoot for mediocre. We're not going to continue a tax code that favors foreign products over American-made products, nor will we continue a tax code that actually encourages American companies to move overseas. Border adjustability, for example, while it is new to the U.S., is old throughout the world. Everybody uses it. And I have not yet heard a compelling argument why our tax code should favor foreign products over U.S. products. Equal taxation, regardless of who produces that, regardless of whether it's a U.S. or foreign company, taxing those products equally in the U.S., as simple as that is powerful to economic growth, to fairness, and to leapfrogging America back into the lead pack. So in concert, that is why this is such a core element of the House blueprint, because it achieves so many critical goals when combined with the rest of our provisions. So final point, we continue to eagerly seek feedback on our blueprint every day. We look for ways to improve this. We've engaged with industries on how we design key elements of this, including the glide path forward on interest deductibility issues, the same on border adjustability issues. I've not yet heard a valid complaint yet that can't be resolved in a very positive way through the design and the transition of these provisions. And so I encourage you to weigh in on these issues. And now's the time to do it in a major way, and look forward to having your support.
Mr. Chairman, thank you you've got a busy schedule. Join me in thanking the chairman for his leadership on this.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
And
it.
please call on us if we can be of any help.